Hello guys, welcome again to Level Change channel. My name is Claudio Fonseca. I'm a real Boeing 777 pilot, and today we are going to talk about the before start procedure. As you know, I always bring a document to supplement our study, and here it is today. Then we are going to talk about the before start procedure. This procedure is still divided between the captain on the left side and the first officer on the right side, and we should start this procedure when we are ready to close the aircraft doors. So when we have all the passengers on board, all the documentation is on board, all the fuel is also on board, and we are ready to start our flight. So first thing that the first officer has to do at this point is to check that the APU is feeding the electrical system to the airplane. So in the electrical panel, it has to set, and to set, first thing, APU selector as needed, start, then on, and we verify that the fault light is extinguished. If you did this procedure, if you did this part of the procedure during the pre-flight, so the APU is already on. If you didn't do because of noise regulations like the ones that we have in Paris, the place we are simulating this flight, you are going to do this right now. So I'm going with you to the overhead, and I'm going to check APU is off, and then I set it to start and leave it to on. The fault light will illuminate briefly. Here it comes, and that's it. So this part of the procedure is complete. One thing I want to show you is that during the APU start, you can follow the start through the status page. So on the status page, you will have here the APU indications. Okay, so you just see the APU started, and when the APU RPM is at around 100%, you will have the message APU running, telling you that the APU is on. The other information that we have here is the exhaust gas temperature, the oil pressure, the oil temperature, and the oil quantity, all of these for the APU. Okay, you don't have to monitor the APU start, you don't have to open the status page. I'm only showing you that you can, if you want, you can notice at what point of this start the APU is at any given time. Okay, so now it's going to reach around 100%, and the message APU running is going to appear. Okay, so what's next? We are looking for the APU running message to show. When the APU running message shows, we are going to the overhead, and we are going to check that the secondary external power switch light, the on light, is extinguished. Okay, and if the primary external power switch, the on light, is illuminated, we go to the primary external power switch, we push it, and we make sure the light is extinguished. Note that we are just talking about the on light. Okay, so that's what I'm going to show you right now. So we go to the overhead panel. This is the electrical panel. Okay, we start from the secondary external power, and we verify that the on light is not on. It doesn't matter if the avail light is on or not. What you are looking for is the on light. So the on light is extinguished. That's the correct position. Of course, if the on light is still on, you can push this button once, and it's going to become avail. Okay, and that's what we are going to do with the primary external power. So the on light is still illuminated. We push the button once, and then we have to make sure the on light is not there anymore. It doesn't matter if the avail light is there or not. What you don't want to see is the on light. Okay, so usually at this time, when you have the APU providing your electrical power, you can ask the ground engineers to disconnect the external power. Okay, so that's what we are going to do, but usually this is done by the maintenance guys, so it's not done by the pilots. Okay, but on the simulator itself, you have it to do it. Okay, you have it to do it by your own. So right now I'm going to show you the external power is still here. So this is the external power, and you have the two cables connected. Okay, so at this point we are going to open our PMDG FS actions, and we go to the ground connections and we release the ground power. Okay, just like the ground personnel was removing the external power. Another thing that we are going to do here, we are going to remove shocks. Okay, and we are also closing all the doors. Okay, so the doors are closing now. Another thing that we are going to do on the sim, we have it to do it manually, but it's doing by the ground personnel as well. It's to remove all the jetways, all the boarding bridges from the airplane. So I'm just undocking, and that's it. Now you are going to see, like in real life, everything is closed and the bridges are going away. Okay, so that's what's happened at this time, and then we continue our procedure. Then the first officer verifies that the flight deck door is closed and locked, and the lock fail light is extinguished. You can see some gray background here because this is not simulated on the PMDG, but in real life what the first officer does from his seat, he looks back, he notices that the door is closed, and here this flight deck door, where it says here deactivate, we cannot see the lock fail amber light on. Okay, so it's deactivated on the PMDG 777. Next step, both the captain and the first officer will check that the flight deck windows are closed and locked. The flight deck windows are closed and locked when the window is obviously locked and you don't see the window not closed decal. Okay, so if the window is open, you will see an indication, a written message on the window itself that the window is not closed, and also there is an orange indicator that it shows on the handle that you use to open and close the door. So you have to make sure that the orange indicator does not show. I'm going to show you the orange, where it's supposed to be the orange indicator. I'm going from one side to the other because it's easier. So first thing, we notice the window is closed. If the window was open, there will be here a big message, window not closed. So we make sure the windows are closed, and on this handle here that we use to open and close the door, if it is not properly locked, the upper part of this will be up and there will be an orange indicator around here. So in this case we don't see anything orange in this handle, so that means the window it's closed and locked. Okay, next step, and it's very important that for the next step the captain waits for the first officer, because the first officer has to verify all the selections while the captain is doing and it's setting the MCP. Okay, so the captain will have to go to the IS Max selector and set the V2. Then it goes to LNAV and arm the LNAV as necessary as needed. We are flying today and standard departure SID that is on our FMC. We check all the departure, so we are going to use LNAV for our departure. We arm the LNAV. VNAV as well, we are going to arm. VNAV you always arm because you already included in your FMC all your performance calculations. You included the height for the thrust reduction, you included the height for the acceleration, you also included the height for engine out acceleration. So we make a full advantage of this VNAV system, and we always use the VNAV for takeoff. Then on the heading track selector, we set the initial heading or track, usually is the runway heading, and then the altitude selector, we set the initial altitude according to our clearance. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do now. So from his chair, the captain inserts the V2 150. Okay, then he makes sure 150 is there on the speed on his PFD. Then he arms the LNAV, and he makes sure the LNAV is armed on his PFD as well, on the FMA. You see the white LNAV message there. Then VNAV, and as well check that the VNAV is armed. Then set the initial heading, which is 264 today, and he makes sure 264 it's on his PFD as well. And then initial altitude here for Paris is 10,000 feet. 10,000 feet is already set. The first officer on his side is going to check all this information as well, that we now have the V2 as a speed, LNAV is armed, the VNAV is armed, the heading is 264, and the altitude is 10,000 feet. Next step are the CDU display. So here it is slightly different from captain and first officer. That's why I included both in just one line without separation, because this time we are talking about the pilot flying. It doesn't matter if it's the captain or the first officer, and the pilot monitoring the same way. So the pilot flying today is going to be the captain, so he takes off with the takeoff reference page or VNAV climb page, and the pilot monitoring with the legs page. Okay, so as pilot flying, the captain will go to the takeoff page. Okay, so this is one option, and that's the most common. The other option would be the VNAV climb page. Okay, this is an option, but usually we use the takeoff reference page. And the first officer from his side, he's going to select on the FMC the legs page. Okay, so that's the page that pilot monitoring takes off, because we can see all the altitude constraints, speeds, and we can also make route modifications through this page. Our next step is to check that the exterior doors are closed. Both pilots, they do it. Two ways to do it. Okay, the easiest way is to check if you have any ACAS indication about the door, any caution message about the door. If you see doors, it's because there is two or more doors open, or if you see a specific door like door entry 1 or door 1 right or door 2 left, is that specific door that is open. So we don't have any door open. The other way to do it, you can always check your door pages, and then you will see that all doors are closed. In this case, it's still in manual mode. Okay, so we just figure out that our doors are closed. Next step, the captain established communication with ground personnel. When we establish communications with ground personnel, the first thing we want to know is that the external checks are complete. What would be an external check complete? It will be something like this. There is nothing around the airplane, the shocks are removed, the boarding bridges are not connected, the external electrical and air conditioning are not connected anymore, so the airplane is ready to go. The only thing that may be connected, and we are going to connect now, is the pushback truck. Okay, so the pushback truck is coming. That's the only thing that might still be connected to the airplane. Okay, then if pushback is needed, and these two things we are going to do if pushback is needed, which is our case today. We confirm that the nose gear steering is locked out. Just people saying that they are ready for pushback, and that's what we have to do. We verify the ground equipment is ready for pushback. About this nose gear steering locked out pin, I'm going to bring you the real photo of the pin on the day that we talk about the pushback itself. Okay, but there is a pin that the ground personnel they installed on the main gear, on the nose gear, to make sure that all the hydraulic power is removed from the main gear, and they can do the pushback and move the nose gear freely for the pushback. Okay, then the next step is to obtain clearance to pressurize the hydraulic system. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. So the pushback is connected, the nose gear pin is locked out, and we can pressurize the hydraulic system. Okay, so to pressurize the hydraulic system, the first officer will do it on the hydraulic panel. There is one warning here, and I'm going to read it again. If the tow bar is connected, do not pressurize the hydraulic system until nose gear steering is locked out, because unwanted tow bar movement can occur. This nose gear steer locked out is what the captain did. So he confirmed that it is locked out, so the first officer can pressurize. Okay, so the captain has to ask for, but if the captain doesn't ask for, there is a warning here to remember the first officer not to do it without the captain confirmation. And then we have another note that we have to pressurize the right system first to prevent fluid transfer between the systems. Okay, so that's how the system were designed on the 777. So how we set our our hydraulic panel. On the right electrical demand pump selector, we put it into auto, and we verify that the fault light is extinguished prior to selecting remaining hydraulic pumps to ensure brake system is correctly configured. Okay, so we go inside. This is our hydraulic panel, and then we have the demand pumps at the bottom, and the right electrical one we set it to auto, and then we don't do anything else until this light is extinguished. So we wait the fault light to extinguish. It just extinguished, and now we can continue our procedure. Now we go to C1 and C2 electrical primary pump switches, and we put both of them to on. We verify that the center 1 fault light is extinguished, and the center 2 fault light may still be illuminated until after the engine start. That's because of the load shedding. Okay, so next step then, primary C1 and C2 electrical on and on. This C1 fault light, it must go off. The second one can remain on, so the C1 is off. Then we go to the left. I'm changing the color again. Then we go to the left electrical demand pump selector, and we put it to auto, and we verify that the fault light is extinguished. So these are the demand pumps again, the left electrical to auto, and this fault light has to extinguished. I notice on the PMDG it takes some time, more time than in real life, but that's normal. You don't have to wait this light to be off. The only light that you really need to wait before doing something else is for the right electrical. So once you configure the entire system, then you check for the fault lights. Last two, C1 and C2 air demand pump selectors to auto, and we verify the fault lights are extinguished. So these are the C1 and C2 air demand pumps, auto and auto, and the panel should be like this. All demand pump fault lights off, okay, and the C1 also off, not illuminated. The C2 might be not illuminated, and of course the left and right engine, the fault light will be on. Okay, so once this is finished, the captain can set the trim for takeoff. So the stabilizer trim he is going to set for takeoff and verify that the trim is in the green band. So that's what we are going to do from the captain's side here. Okay, note the captain cannot do this before the first officer finished with the hydraulic system. Okay, so the captain comes here and trim 5.5. That's what he is going to set here using the switches that are on the yoke. Okay, usually that's the way the pilots they do it. So I'm going to push it nose up until 5.5. Okay, another way of doing it is with the alternate pitch trim. You can make it nose up, okay, or nose down as much as you need to go to 5.5. Another thing you can do it to check 5.5, you can open the flight control page and you will see the tab here 5.5. okay, I'm going to use the alternate pitch trim to move, and you're going to see 575, 6, 625. On the other hand, if you go back 5.50, that's what we need. Okay, the first officer also has the information for him on the left side. It should be the same 5.5, and of course this trim must be within the green band. Okay, so this indication 5.5 must be within the green band. Next step that we have, aileron trim, we verify the trim is 0 units. The only way to do it is through the control column, is through the yoke. We need to come here and verify that the trim, aileron trim is 0, so it's perfectly aligned with the yoke. Okay, so that's the way to check the aileron trim. And then the rudder trim, we verify that the trim is 0 units. For the rudder trim indication is on the pedestal here. So here we have the rudder trim indication that shows 0. Okay, here you have the rudder trim itself. If you take it to the right, it goes right. If you take it to the left, of course it will go left. Okay, you also have the rudder trim indication on the flight control page, synoptic page. For the rudder trim, in this case is left 1.0. we can even set, for example, 1.5. What we also have here is the manual trim cancel. So anytime you press the manual trim cancel, it goes back to 0, and you can identify 0 as well through the rudder trim here 0.0. okay, what you have to check is this one on your panel. You don't really need to open the synoptic, but if you have any doubt, you can always open the synoptic page for the flight controls and make sure everything is correct. Okay, so while the captain was setting the trim, just after the first officer finalized with the hydraulic panel, the first officer is going to set the passenger signs panel. So the no electric selectors, they go to 1, the seatbelt selectors, they go to 1, and we verify the memo passenger signs on message is shown. So again, overhead, so the first officer just did the hydraulic panel. Now he goes to the passenger signs, no electrics to on, and seatbelts to on, and he verifies that the passenger signs are on. Usually at this time, the cabin crew, they arm doors for departure. Okay, so I'm going to make it black and white again, because it's not something that the pilots, they have to do it. The cabin crew, they do it, but we are going to arm all doors for departure at this time, because right now they know that all the checks, they were complete, and the pilots, they are doing the before start, they are doing the sequence. So when the sign goes on, they know everybody is away from the airplane, and they can arm the doors for departure. Okay, and you will see the doors auto message here. Even if you open the doors page now, not only closed, but you will see the automatic indication there, meaning the doors are armed. Okay, so we'll go back to our normal procedures, and then we go to the fuel panel. In the fuel panel, the left and right fuel pumps switches we must set on and verify the pressure lights are extinguished. So once again, the first officer just did the hydraulic, passenger signs, the passenger signs are on, and then the left pumps and the right pumps to on, and all the pressure lights, they are not illuminated. Then in sequence, we are going to do the next step only if the fueling center message shows. Okay, so we need to go here and we have to verify that the fueling center message shows. In this case, the fueling center message does not show, and then we don't perform the step that is here. Okay, in case, sorry, it didn't change the color, so this step we don't perform, but in case we had a fill in center message, the center fill pumps switches, we are going to put it on, and one or both pressure lights may stay illuminated until after the engine start because of load shedding. Okay, in our case today, the message is not there, we don't have it to do it. Next step, the first officer goes to the beacon light switch and turn it on. Okay, so we go there and we turn the beacon light on. We have a message here on our FMC. At least is what it says, our ACAS. Okay, I think that this is just a system glitch. I'm trying to get rid of it. Yep, it's gone. Okay, so the message should not be there, and it's not anymore. So the next step after then the beacon on, the next step that we have is the first officer verifying if any ACAS caution or advisory message is shown. If we have any amber message there, we go to the cancel and recall switch and we push it. When we push, we verify the all caution and advisory message disappears, and we press the button as many times as necessary to get rid of all the messages. Okay, so what I'm telling you is that right now we have engine shutdown and TCAS off. At this time, it doesn't matter how many messages we have to press the cancel and recall switch until they all disappear. Okay, when they all disappear, now we are ready to do the final check. And then the first officer will press again the cancel and recall switch. We'll verify that the recall indication shows, and we'll announce recall. Okay, after announcing, oops, you are not seeing, sorry, I'm going to do it again. So what the first officer does, it goes to the cancel recall switch and we push cancel and recall switch. We verify the recall indication shows and we announce recall. After that, we announce the ACAS message. It looks complicated, but it's not, and we are going to do it together now. So the messages are gone. Okay, when you don't have any message, you press this button, cancel and recall switch, and please keep looking below the parking brake set because you will see the indication recall showing there, and that's what we want to see. So we press, recall is there, and we announce, we tell the captain, recall, and then we read, engine shutdown and TCAS off. Okay, so simple. You press, you notice recall, you announce, recall, engine shutdown, TCAS off. Next step is the captain. The captain will verify that only expected messages are shown, and I give you a list of expected messages just below, which they are at this point engine shutdown and TCAS off. If you only hear engine shutdown and TCAS off, then the captain will call cancel ACAS, telling the first officer to cancel the ACAS message. Another two notes here, one is caution and one is warning. The caution is any inoperative system related message must be discussed. So what I'm telling you now is that if you have more messages because one or more systems are not working, okay, that's the time to discuss this message or remember what we discussed during the briefing. And that was an expected message if that's the case, okay? And there is a warning. Any unexpected message must be resolved. Unexpected message, maybe you have a hydraulic message. This hydraulic message may be because you didn't select the correct correct position for the pumps. So if that was the case, you have to do it correctly and the message should disappear. If you cannot resolve this message in the cockpit itself by our normal procedures, then we have to call the maintenance and they have to work on it. Okay, So once the captain told you cancel ACAS, the first officer goes again to the cancel recall switch, and we push and we verify that the messages cancel. Okay, so we announce recall, we announce engine shutdown and TCAS off, and the captain told me cancel recall. Then we press here cancel and we verify the messages are gone. Next step, transponder mode selector, and we go to transponder. Okay, so here on the transponder it is on standby, and we put it on transponder XPNDR, so that's the transponder. Then to finalize, when the first officer set the transponder mode selector to transponder, the captain calls before start checklist, and the first officer read the before start checklist. The before start checklist is the subject of our next video. So on the next video I'm going to do the before start checklist with you guys. Okay, I hope you enjoy this video. I hope now you can do your before start procedure, and as you know, you can always download the document that I showed you through the link on the video description. Okay, thank you so much guys. If you like the video, please hit the like button. If you are enjoying the channel, please hit as well the button to become a subscriber, and if you have the opportunity as well, become a member of this channel and watch this video before the regular people. Okay, so this was the before start procedure on flight level change by Claudio Fonseca, and see you next time. Bye bye.